as you learn more about yourself, then you start to recognize how it shows up in other people too. So you start to become more compassionate with others because you're like, oh, dang, I see that expression in the face. I feel that, like, you become more sensitive, for me and what I've witnessed with my clients, sensitive to the tone of voice, the energy of how somebody's showing up, the subtleties that you wouldn't normally pick up on if you're rushing through things all the time. It causes you to slow down and really connect with people in a deeper way too.
2, 1, 0.
Hi and welcome to Stellar Life Podcast. This is your host, Orion. Being an entrepreneur is not a straight line. It's like a roller coaster. And you have to deal with yourself, and you have to deal with small voices in your head, and you have to keep pushing forward even when people tell you you can't make it. My guest Jennifer Lyall helps visionary entrepreneurs create a strategy and trust in themselves to bring their $1 million ideas to life, scaling their business, doing what they love. She helps you master your energy and intuition to confidently make bold decisions and become the leader you need to become to create it. Some of the things we talked about were procrastination, intuition, changing habits, and giving yourself permission to do the things that make your heart sing. And now, without further ado, on to the show. Hi, Jennifer, and welcome to Stellar Life Podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Before we begin, can you share about your origin story and how did you discover your passion?
I had started a business in 2008, and my intention with that business was to inspire people to be proactive about their health. And the focus was a video podcast. So this is before podcasting is cool. I had a co-host that was a naturopathic doctor, and my intention was that I wanted to inspire people to be proactive about their health. I wanted to work part-time while the kids were in school and just generate revenue from advertising. I had a friend that had a really successful tech podcast, and he gave me everything I needed to get started, literally set me up perfectly, lent me equipment, connected me with his naturopath. It was like amazing. But the problem is that I didn't believe in myself. So here I was wondering, okay, why are people going to advertise in this new platform? Because podcasting was at its infancy. The wellness movement was just building momentum at that time as well. And I was just a mom passionate about wellness. Like, I didn't have any credentials. Why would they want me and to support me? So I landed a few clients. And then I went and thought, okay, what else can I do? Because this is not building the momentum the way I thought. I had a background in marketing and event planning. It's like, oh, but let's do corporate wellness then, because that really aligns. And that was starting to build momentum. But 2008, you might remember what was happening in the economy. So I would go door knocking. There'd be all these places that were shutting down. They like for lease signs, for sale signs up all over the place. There's no receptionist there. It's just like, pick up the phone and call the person who you're supposed to meet. Like, don't bother us. I got a handful of clients to do the corporate wellness stuff, but it still was so much harder than it needed to be. And I got to this place where I was expecting full-time results when I was really just working part-time in my business just while my kids were in school. And I gave myself permission to discover what made my heart sing. And it was a scary moment in some ways, because I had heard on this summit about this woman who had this moment of surrender, of she just put it out to the universe, or I guess that was the language she would have used. I didn't know what I believed in at that point. And she's like, I'm ready to do a really quick, deep transformation. And then she had this horrible experience of like a home invasion and being in the hospital. And that's how she opened up to her intuitive gifts. And it was fascinating, but I did not want to have an experience like that. So I did very gentle 6 a.m., pitch black, March 2010. The kids are still asleep. And I just remember that moment of sitting on the couch. It's like I give myself permission to discover what made my heart sing. And then I started to have all these incredible spiritual experiences and discovered automatic writing, discovered dowsing, meditation. And over a course of about a year through the automatic writing, I was given my own modality called Connect to You, and then had to go through the whole journey of diving into this spiritual world and gaining the confidence to share myself as a spiritual practitioner, going from somebody who was in corporate, university graduate with honors, a real smarty pants, real control freak. It was an undoing, a surrendering, trusting.
Yes, that's beautiful. What are some of your spiritual experiences?
The very first one that was really off-putting because I didn't quite understand it. I was setting my intention for the day and I felt like something was poking inside my stomach. And then I felt like something was poking around in my head. And when I sat down to do the automatic writing, I said, like, what was that? And I got, we're unlocking and opening the door to your soul so that you could be a little more free. That like the door's always been unlocked, but you've just not had the courage to let it out. And in my head, like it felt like there's this hand going between my brain and my skull all the way around the perimeter. And it said, we're making room for your soul or for your ego because the soul's going to be more in control. And then with that, I felt really flighty for about 2 weeks. And I remember that day, it was a snowstorm, and I remember telling my son, Aiden, you must go upstairs and be nice. Because he was fighting with his little brother. Like, be nice and presently go upstairs and take a moment and think about how you're treating your brother. And just the language that was coming out of my mouth was not language that I would usually say and not the cadence of way I would normally talk. And he just kind of looked at me weird and went upstairs. And it was a snowstorm. School buses were canceled. The roads had been cleared. And when the school buses are canceled, so I have to drive him to school. So I took him to school, and then I was working on a contract at that time for doing some event planning. And so I went into the office and started working on it. And there was nobody else there except for the executive director of this association. And she's like, what are you doing here? Like, whenever the school buses are canceled, you know, we're closed. Like, what are you doing here? And it's just like, oh, I just had stuff I needed to get done. And I just was so flighty and just kind of, I couldn't focus. I couldn't concentrate. And I just was discombobulated. And then things started to settle down, and it just deepened this idea of going within and listening and trusting and getting all these incredible messages through the automatic writing, and then given a stick diagram of, okay, you're going to do this soul connection. You're going to do this for other people too. Here's a stick drawing. Move the energy this way, move it that way. Here through the automatic writing, here's a script for a meditation, and go do a case study, and then trusting in that.
Wow, that's amazing. Do you know, like, who was the one that was communicating with you?
I felt like I was connecting in with Bridget and Archangel Michael, and then it felt like it was just God.
Yeah, that's what I would think. Wow, that's amazing. How did your family react to that change?
It was interesting because I remember asking my husband, like I'd be telling him some of my experiences, and I'd be saying, do you think I'm crazy yet? Do you think I'm crazy yet? He's like, would you just stop saying that? And then September or October that fall, that year, I went down to Sedona, Arizona and had a soul adventure. And that was transformative. So what they did with that is I had like an intuitive call before I went down. They tuned into who I was, what I had going on, how many days I could be down there. And then they created an itinerary for me with different practitioners. And I experienced like this introductory meditation at one of the beautiful vortices in Sedona. And then I had a guide that was there to support me. Like they would check in with me and I could have conversations with to help me process whatever was coming up in that time that I was there. A goddess meditation, astrology, different energy clearings. It was absolutely transformative. And it's like, oh, I could do that where I live too. Like I could, figure out and create a community and do the same thing. And so I started to connect in with practitioners, and it's just like, I don't know what all these modalities are. So I got a little, again, that imposter syndrome of, can I really do this? Who am I to do this? It was finding my way through.
Yeah, so imposter syndrome is something that a lot of us come across. And when you work with clients, do you see that a lot?
Yes.
So how do we get over it?
It's an invisible barrier. So what I'm being shown right now is here's a person on one side and there's this like invisible barrier. It reminds me of, I don't know if you're a Star Wars fan or not, but like there would be these kind of just clear force field doors that would come down. It's an invisible barrier that you have to have the confidence that you can walk through.
Yes, I'm a fan.
Yes. Right? Right. And just believing that you can do it.
Yes. So how do you break through that barrier if it's invisible? Just by believing. Sometimes we believe cognitively, but there is something in our subconscious mind or something below the surface that is moving us in different directions. That's almost like there is a war between two voices in your head. One that says, oh, you can do it. You're amazing. You're qualified. Go for it. And the other one that is the one that's holding you back.
So one of the ways that I have been working through that, because it still comes up, I still have my moments, and it's a process that I teach all of my clients as well, whether I'm working with them in a group program or one-to-one, is this idea of checking your inner battery and having this be a pause to check in to see how am I feeling physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually on a scale of 1 to 10. And when you break it down to those different areas of energy, you get a sense of who am I being right now? Am I being tangled up in old ways and old thinking, old paradigms? Or am I in like an 8, 9, or 10 in this thriving and flow state? When you're at that 8, 9, or 10, so much is possible. You believe in yourself, you're confident. When you're down in suffering around 5, 6, or 7, that's when you're flip-flopping back and forth between the two. And when the energy gets depleted, 1, 2, 3, or 4, that's when you tend to be ruminating and you're caught up in those old ways. So being disciplined and taking that pause throughout the day to check in, see where you're at, and then if your numbers are lower than you want them to be, like sometimes there's stuff that goes on in life and you just got to give yourself the space and grace to move through it. You've lost a dear one and you need the space and grace to grieve. Okay. But if you're just getting caught up in your own crap in your mind over and over and over again, like that's just purgatory. It's torture, your self-torture. So to take that pause and check in and say, okay, do I want to continue this way, or am I going to pause and boost my inner battery? And that could be going barefoot on the grass. I took a moment and did an extra little bit of Palo Santo because I was feeling foggy behind my eyes. We were having a conversation about feeling a little unwell and having my sinuses were acting up over the last few days and releasing it. And that is still the same energy. It's just showing up more in the physical form rather than in the mental.
I find that my lowest numbers are when I don't sleep or when I'm sick. Like that's where I feel like the worst. I didn't sleep much in the last few days. I mean, last night I got a good night's sleep because my little one was sick. And man, everything just looks darker. Everything was like, I don't like my life. It's so hard. Everything's so hard. I can't move forward. And last night I got some sleep and I'm like, oh, actually life is pretty good. But what helps me, and I check in and I notice, is I love what you said about give yourself the grace and just say, okay, today the house can be messy and I'm going to be messy and it's a messy day. And the moment you just allow yourself to feel that, it creates an opening because you're not pushing against something. You're just like, it is what it is. And then you allow something good to come in.
Yes, the resistance. You're no longer pushing against the resistance.
Yeah, you're no longer pushing and more good things can come when you don't push. Because you spoke about surrender. What's your take on surrender?
That is letting go of the old paradigm and trusting in a whisper, a feeling of something more that could be possible.
And how do you get there? How do you get to the place of trusting?
Oh, it's a journey. It's just gradual each time. It's a lot like learning to float in the water. That first time it's just like, am I really going to do it? And you know, you even might come to a place where you've practiced it and you get good at it. And then you're not in the water for some time and you go and try to float again. And then you go through that same relaxing into it.
Yes. And sometimes trusting or surrendering, I feel it can come from a place of despair of I can't do it anymore. I just let go and let God. And then there is this type of surrender as well.
Yes. And that's a different kind, like when you're at the end of your rope. Mm-hmm. And you're just so tired of pushing and pulling and all the hard work. Why am I even bothering anymore? And the universe is like, yeah, why are you pushing so hard? Let go. Let us do some of our work.
Yes. Did you have any things that you need to overcome when it came to like working on past traumas or past programming or past habits that were in your way to success?
Absolutely. And still chipping away. My family had their own business. And so my mom would leave at 7 in the morning and not come home till 11 at night.
What?
Yeah, I'm the baby of 7. And so there'd be like an older sibling that would be home.
That's really tough.
And then summertime, oftentimes be going up to the shop and either hanging out in the office at the shop or actually helping with a bit of packing or being at home with my older sister. And then if she had stuff to do with her friends, and then I'd have to go just kind of hang around at the periphery because she didn't want me hanging around, but I couldn't be at home by myself. And yeah.
Wow, that was tough. That must have taught you a lot though.
A lot of independence. Yes, having so many role models that were way older than me is very independent.
Yes. And also probably increased your imagination and creativity. Because if you're by yourself a lot, you have to like make up stuff. I know that as a child, I was not because my mom wasn't home, because I would love, actually, I would spend hours and hours in the backyard by myself watching little feral cats and their kittens and making up lots of stories. I was very imaginative as a child.
Yes, I was imaginative as well. And then to share ideas and have people say, oh, what are you doing thinking about that? Oh, stop going there. Stop dreaming about that. Oh, get your head out of the clouds.
And do you feel like with your clients, they had a lot of experiences like that where they were trying to do something and there was other people's voices in their heads that prevented them?
Yes, even just today in 2 calls is like one of them. Oh, yeah, my mom's voice was there in my head saying, don't just stay middle of the road. Don't share your suffering. Don't share your celebrations. Just keep going, just doing your thing. Don't be out there bragging or anything. And somebody else sharing about how she had her amazing career. But then as soon as she started her own business where it was her that needed to be out there, she started to hear these old voices of like, who do you think you are that you could do that? And it's just incredible how it just comes up for pretty much everyone in some way, shape, or form.
I would love to come to a point where I don't care about what other people think completely and utterly. It seems hard to not care about what other people think. Even the voices in my head. I have a website called Orion's Method. It's pretty old and I need to renew it. And I have the people that can work on my website. And I went to Costa Rica and I did an incredible photo shoot. And I worked with another like branding person about how to do my brand. And I still can't get myself to move forward and actually work on the new website.
Why do you not want to know what you want? I don't know. That's kind of a weird question. Why do you not want to know what you want? I think there's something even bigger and bolder that's calling to you that isn't quite fine-tuned enough, that keeps you from wanting to spend much time creating something that you know that you're just going to have to recreate again. And yet it's not until you go through that evolution process of like the moment of, okay, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to just do this, we're going to redo the website, and then seeing it, it's just like, this isn't me.
Maybe, because I feel like I am like it's not a shapeshifter. I just feel like in the last couple of years, I've evolved so much. And like I got into like depth and deep work that I've never done in my life, even though I thought I did a lot of work, not like what happened in the last 2 years. And I guess that's a part of it, because and I think another part of it is that when I saw my photos in Costa Rica, they were so stunning and gorgeous that for me it was the imposter syndrome of like, no, I can't put this online. This is like, it's too much. It's like people won't relate to that. They looked too beautiful. Or if my pictures look so pretty, I'll have to step into that and be that all the time. So like it's so weird, like the weird conversations we have in our minds, and that voice is like holding you back from moving forward.
We are so multifaceted. Like we don't look at a diamond that's been carved and expect it to just be flat. We expect it to sparkle. But why not allow that same space for us to sparkle in so many different ways for ourselves too?
Do you feel like you have something like that where you're holding yourself from really sparkling to the extent that you can?
It's really fascinating. So with this process of checking your inner battery, I have a vision of reaching 1 million people, inspiring 1 million people to do it. And I have been playing a waiting game of, what do I call this methodology that really embraces the power of it, sounds beautiful, so that someone would want to say, I'm a facilitator. Is it just a check your inner battery facilitator, or is there something bigger, prettier, bolder? And so I've been holding back on claiming that.
So when we have sense of procrastination like I do, or in your case with finding the name, there is always something behind it. It's not about being lazy. It's not about not being capable. It's something emotional, psychological, spiritual that we need to work through.
A treasure to tune into, yes.
What are some things that we can do around procrastination and moving forward with our desires? Especially, I'm asking you about me. Like, I want to do it and I still hold back. I'm capable, everything is aligned. Everything is ready for me to just say, hey, let's just put this here and this here and this here and let's go. It's all ready to go. And yet I'm holding back.
What I sense, and you can tell me if this is true, is that you don't want that to limit you, because the term that you used, but it's, and you know that it's not true, is just being such a shapeshifter and so multifaceted. It's like it almost puts you in a box, and you don't want to be in a box. It's impossible for you, especially, to be in a box. And that's the box of online, of the website.
Yeah, I think that the boxes are imaginary and they're not really there. Because even if you put something really incredible online or a method online, you can totally change it as you change. It's not forever. Nothing is forever. And even with your program, whatever name you give it now can always change. It's about taking the first step and moving forward.
Yes. So I'm writing a book, and it's interesting though. I feel like I have to do it right. And so with thinking about trademarking and all that stuff, there is more involved with that commitment. And that's what it's the commitment to it. I'm really committing to it.
Yes, that's amazing. When do you think you'll publish it?
My intention is to publish my book this year. I just got recently my developmental edit from my book coach. I need to review the book and finish it up.
What is it about?
Checking your inner battery.
Maybe you can share some wisdom that you shared there.
So it's about giving yourself the space and grace and the possibility to be okay with taking the pause to check in and see how you're doing. And the transformation that starts to occur as you do those pauses and recognize the different subconscious blocks that are holding your back. So I've taken a few different group programs through this process too, and there was one participant that whenever she found something, she would say, I'm on to you. And right, finding those sneaky patterns, I'm on to you. And it's just so fascinating. You begin to expand your self-awareness, and it is such a gift. Your intuition amplifies. You become more self-compassionate because you recognize that I'm not feeling so hot in this moment, so I should be giving myself that space and grace. Or, okay, I can see that pattern coming up, and what's really going on here? You can do that reflection. So learning different things about yourself, and as you learn more about yourself, then you start to recognize how it shows up in other people too. So you start to become more compassionate with others because you're like, oh, dang, I see that expression in the face. I feel that, like you become more sensitive, for me and what I've witnessed with my clients, sensitive to the tone of voice, the energy of how somebody's showing up, the subtleties that you wouldn't normally pick up on if you're rushing through things all the time. Causes you to slow down and really connect with people in a deeper way too.
But when you slow down so much, don't you prevent forward movement?
No, it takes the action steps off of your plate and lets the universe do a little bit more of the heavy lifting for you.
Let's talk about that. I like that.
Yeah. Well, you go first and then I'll chime in.
I like that. I did feel many times where I stepped back and things just showed up. But when I truly stepped back, when I'm not just, okay, now I'm stepping back. Okay, I stepped back. Where is it? I did step back. Where is it? When you truly step back, it's not like you're like incomplete, I guess, again, surrender, more allowing things to happen the way you want them to happen. Then all kinds of opportunities show up, and so randomly and beautifully orchestrated. For example, my mom is going to come to visit us for the holidays from Israel. And when she came to visit us 2 years ago, I she's elderly. She doesn't speak much English, and I wanted her to have friends here. So I created a WhatsApp group for ladies here, elderly lady, like not that old, like 60 and up. And we met a few times, and then kind of like the group went silent. And then the day after I bought her the ticket, I randomly was in contact with this lady, and she said that she's opening a group for ladies over 60. And I told her, well, I opened a group and have some ladies there. Let's join forces. So we joined forces. And within the last 4 hours, there are 32 ladies there. It's all happening kind of like divinely orchestrated. I didn't pay attention. I didn't try it. It's almost like God is like, oh, let's take care of your mom and get her some friends while she's visiting. And I just love it. I like to speak, and I haven't spoken in a while in front of a group. And all of a sudden, oh, here's a group to speak with. That's kind of cool. And I'm an admin, so I can speak in it. It's fine.
Beautiful.
Things just happen.
Right? It's when we take the foot off the gas pedal. Last year, my husband and I, we love camping. And so we did this backcountry camping trip where it's canoe camping, and we had to canoe across 2 lakes to get to our campsite. My phone wasn't working there, and there's no cell phone reception. And it was 2 days immersed in nature, just the two of us. And it's just pure magic. And then I love that when I come back out online, there are sales there waiting for me. And it's just
nice.
Yeah, to totally disconnect and let the universe do its thing.
Do you have a daily rituals that bring you to that point where you're allowing and you're more connected?
I do have a process that I'll do in the morning. So I have like a smorgasbord of things that I like to weave into my day. And some of them I'll do in the morning, depending on how much time I have that day, how well I slept the night before, and how things are structured for my day when my first appointment is and whatnot. So some things are like really delicious just in the morning, and other things are trickled through my day. Art and creativity is something that's really surprising, that's been really important for me to do every day, even if it's just a couple of minutes of coloring in a coloring book. Some other mornings it's doing a quick watercolor painting. That is something that is really surprising for me because I had not really embraced that my whole life. Art was just like, art. I disliked it in school. I was too smarty pants. We don't need art. So that's really been surprising for me. Diving into the meditation, energy clearing, grounding. I work with different codes and symbols. So just taking a moment to pause and connect in with those symbols. Sometimes
codes and symbols. What kind of codes and symbols?
So, for instance, the Star of David has been really significant for me, my whole spiritual journey, as above, so below. So I connect in with that every day as just a reminder of that. The Fibonacci swirl has also been very significant for me. Where'd you go? And this is just a little trinket of a gift that I've given to people that have been through my Ready to Be Seen program. And it's just about the sacred geometry of it. And it really is about anchoring in what it is that I'm ready for, what I'm committing to. I channel different symbols at different times and work with different ones at different times and just trust in that.
I love that. Why do you think people are afraid to be seen?
It's that imposter syndrome, and they've had so many people telling them that they're not good enough. They have money worries. They have the story of I can't, I don't know how, or they just get into overwhelm and confusion. And it's just all the old programming that keeps them in their comfort zone. There's so many different energies that are just being directed at people that if they don't understand how to let that go and take care of their own energy, then they constantly just get dragged down, held back by the entanglement with those other thoughts, beliefs, and systems.
What do you do in your programs? What are some of the exercises or aha moments that people love the most in your program?
In that program in particular, it's over 3 weeks where we do 6 deep dive energy clearings that release the top blocks that hold entrepreneurs back. And so those are 2 sessions a week. We do a teaching around what the block is, an energy clearing, and then a bit of sharing as well. And then they're asked to be in action in their business. And people are always amazed at how easy things are because they're not pushing against their own inner resistance. You know, one person, she was just working on her business part-time at that when she was in the program. And she said, my goodness, I've done more in 3 weeks than I have the last 5 years. And her husband said, who are you? Because she had just totally transformed as a person.
Wow.
Other people finally launched their websites, finally wrote a book, finally did their very first Facebook Live, or multiplied their income, landed their first 15K per month retainer client. When the resistance is gone, things get easy. And it's just like, why was I making this so hard? One of my groups in January, somebody landed a 5-figure client and then another 5-figure client within those 3 weeks. It's just incredible.
It is incredible. What do you think it is? Do you think it's the teaching, the wisdom? Do you think it's the energy clearing, or is it the group support that creates the breakthroughs?
There is something significant about the group capacity and others seeing other people who are also breaking through, so they know that they're not alone. That does help. The energy clearings and the cumulative energy clearings in such a short period of time, because we're doing it in 3 weeks. I've had some other participants that have been at this crossroad of transformation in their life. One person had sold their multi-million-dollar business and was going in a new direction, and she felt like it was a big purge of an old identity and helped her to step into a new identity. Another person was on a year-long sabbatical trying to figure out what his next step was going to be, and the 3 weeks he said, you know what, this was just potent. It was 3 weeks. It was the extra little oomph I needed to get the clarity on what my next chapter was going to be. And then he landed on his feet and got the perfect clarity for what his next chapter was going to be for his business, and has been doing really, really well.
That's amazing. I think at the end of the day, it's a lot about identity shift. It's the way we see ourselves. If we see ourselves as a mega capable, mega successful, or if we see things as hard, or even like I noticed that throughout this interview, I used the word, it's hard, and maybe I should change my language, because everything we say out loud will affect our subconscious mind and our programming. And if we say that something's hard so many more times, then when things are easy, our subconscious mind that is very loyal to us will say, no, you treated me well. You told me that this is really hard, so we're going to make it really hard for you. So it is about changing also the language that you speak and the way you see yourself.
And think.
Yeah, and uplifting the energy, like you said, checking in. What level am I right now, and where do I want to be?
Exactly, because your language totally transforms based on whether you're in the thriving zone, suffering, or survival. Totally different language. And what you believe is possible for you and in your business and in your relationships totally transforms based on where your energy is.
Right. What do you think about habit changing? It's so hard to change habits or mini addictions like your phone.
It is. And it's a decision. It comes down to being a decision. Am I going to stay as that person, or am I more committed to the vision of what it is that I'm here to do and here to become? And that's the choice to make. And the thing is that every moment that we overcome that old version of ourselves, it just gets easier and easier to be committed to what it is that we're here to do. And it's not a one and done thing. It's an everyday.
Yes, it is definitely an everyday, because if you change a newer pathway, that's great, but it's going to go back to the default if you're not going to keep doing it again and again and again and again and again and again until it really is almost like a strong plant in your mind. You can't just like plant a little plant and expect it to grow. You have to give it water and nurture it. And I've started to do some gardening lately, so I guess that's a good example for me. Like, I just love seeing something grow from a seed and nurturing it, and then waking up in the morning and checking on it. If we gave this much attention to our thoughts, we can be invincible.
Absolutely. And it takes the discipline to do it. So in June, it was wonderful. I took a week vacation celebrating our 25th anniversary. We went up to the Rocky Mountains. And so
congratulations. That's very important. Like, this is like, there are so many people that don't make it to their 5th year or 10th year. So congratulations.
Thank you.
You guys are really committed to each other and really loving each other.
Yeah, thank you. And in doing so, though, I really minimized my personal practice while I was gone because I didn't want to inconvenience. So it was my husband and my son for the first part of the trip. Then my son left, and it was just me and my husband for the last part. But I still minimized my daily practice and kept it more internal because I didn't want to bother them with, me having to do this and taking time away from getting on the road, and because we were doing a lot of progress on the trip that we were taking. And then you eat differently. And then you indulge. Oh, it's just a treat. I'm just on vacation. And then a couple of weeks later, a dear friend came to visit. And then, we're on vacation with my friend now and indulging in different things. And man, it's just like that. All that indulging was just sort of nice in the moment, but then the way it left me feeling by the end, like after 4 weeks, is just like, yeah, this isn't really serving me. And it's wonderful though to see how easy it was to get back on track, because I was getting sugar cravings really bad and because I was having sweet stuff, but it's just like, it was easy to come off of it, easier than I thought it was going to be, which is good.
Yeah, because you made it a lifelong practice.
A lifelong roller coaster to be transparent, right? And there's times where it's just like do and it's good, and then there's the build up, and then there's the crash, and then it's just like swirling around. It's like, okay, let's get back on track again.
Do you have your clients using AI for their businesses lately?
That has not come up in conversation. I am not going there. I don't know how I feel about it myself. Are you using it?
Not a lot. Like I play a little bit with ChatGPT or other AIs to ask questions, or I play around with it. I think it's fascinating. And even though the future of AI is very uncertain as far as is it going to hurt us or build us, I think that we are in a stage where people that are using it will have more advantage over people that are not using it. Like my husband and I, we are encouraging our whole team to use it, even for graphic design, where you use Midjourney and it gives you real quick thumbnails, and you use ChatGPT to write something for you, and then you go and you re-edit it. It's not like AI is going to do anything that you want. You always have to have some control over it and fix it, and sometimes it gives you the right answers and sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes there are AI hallucinations where it will just make up a link or make up a statistic that is not even there.
And the fact checking you need to do with that then.
Yeah, you need to do some fact checking, but there are so many advantage. I feel like businesses that are going to use AI will be superior to businesses that are not, because we can't stop it and it's getting smarter and smarter every day. So we might as well learn how to use it, even a little bit.
I am curious about it. I haven't carved out time to do it. I watched a couple of videos, but I would need to go and do like a deeper dive into it and play with it. One of my copywriter had said, it's a great place to do the brainstorming. And as you said, like doing a first draft of something that you're trying to create.
Yeah, but it's also, some of the things that the AI writes is incredible. It's really well written. I mean, you have to tweak it here and there, but even for blog posts or articles, anything, you can produce so much more in such little time. And I'm sure there are a lot of people on Fiverr, for example, that are selling you a logo for, I don't know, $2,000 and just used an AI to do it and over again, and some Photoshop.
And I've seen a message come through from somebody whose list I'm on that is a lawyer that talks about the legal aspects of it, because you don't know what kind of copyright there could be from where they're pulling it's pulling the information from.
Oh, wow. I never thought of that. Yes, that's right.
The article she shared talked about somebody who had written a book using AI, and then they couldn't get the book copywritten because it wasn't all their own content. It wasn't their own original ideas. And then it didn't have like the proper referencing of knowing what was somebody else's ideas. And
yeah, but yes, that's why, like, if I'll use it, I'll go and I'll say, listen to my solo podcast on this and write me something from my content.
Brilliant.
And so I get the first draft of something that is basically my IP, my ideas. And it takes seconds, where if you give it to a writer, it takes 3 days, and then you go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It just saves you a lot of time.
That's brilliant. Now, I like that. Thank you for sharing that, Jem.
Yeah, of course. Of course, we've been playing in it just a little bit, and we haven't done a lot with it, but it's definitely something to look into for any entrepreneur or anyone who wants to find a new job. Just go learn how to prompt AI and be like an AI engineer, or learn how to use some of those tools, and you can make a lot of money.
Very true. If it's their passion and their fun and curiosity.
Yes, if somebody has a passion for art, it will be nice to go and play with Midjourney and see what comes up with. And if they have Photoshop skills, then they can just add on top of it. It just gives you the first great draft, and then you work from there. What are your 3 top tips to living a stellar life?
Take pauses for play. Check your inner battery. Interesting. The last one that wants to come up is pray. every day. And for me, I guess that's about being intentional in your focus of what it is that you want to bring into your world. So however somebody might pray, whether intentionally through the religion that they are a part of, or just in the intentionality of their thoughts and what they're committed to.
Yeah, and thank you for the inspiration. I think I'm going to go and do some intuitive writing about my block with the website and figure it out and have like a little conversation with God about it and just ask him like, why and how can we move through it?
I find dreams very powerful too. I don't know if you ever play with that of being.
I had a weird freaking dream today. It was almost nightmarish. It was almost like something happened in one timeline and then move and change it in a different timeline, but not for the good. And it happened like with those like entities over and over and over again. It was really, really bizarre.
And I would ask if there's anything related to that. The dream, I had a really weird dream last night, but it was also very telling of some of the things that I've been witnessing in myself. Is just, it was interesting to see who was there and who wasn't there. And just, yeah, it was fascinating. So I just journaled around that. I wrote out what happened in the dream, and then I wrote my interpretation of what everything signified. And I always get so much from those vivid dreams.
Yeah, this morning I woke up, I sat on the bed, and I was really trying to remember what happened in the dream, and I saw some images, but I really could not remember anything. Just like bizarre feeling. It was just a bizarre dream. So you think dreams they help you get insights? So you go, you write, you journal.
Absolutely. I don't write down and process every dream, but there's sometimes when it's just like, okay, there's something here. It's interesting. I would have a recurring dream around being a server at a restaurant. When I was in university, I was a server at a restaurant, and that's how I made money during school. And so I'd have different iterations of the dream. Like I'd go to work and it was like my first day and I didn't know the menu. And then there'd be another iteration of the dream where the restaurant looked different and I wouldn't check on my tables or I wouldn't give them their checks. And it was about how I was showing up in my business and how I was serving my clients and how I would not, like, people are there looking to give me money and I wouldn't be there like asking for the sale. I wouldn't give them the bill. So it was really fascinating. And then I did some deliberate healing work around the dream where I recreated the ending to be what I wanted it to be. And in saying that, it's just like, yeah, let's recreate the dream you had last night to make it the way you want it to be. It's like, okay, yeah, let's go do that.
So you created it in your mind consciously, or did you had another dream? Did you have another dream?
Great question. So I went into a meditative state and then I brought up my memory of the dream and then shifted it so that I can't remember which iteration of the restaurant experience I had done it with, but I just was taking great care of my tables and everything was happy, getting fantastic tips and like everything just unfolding perfectly rather than whatever ending it was.
That's so powerful because your mind works with symbols. So when you give him that story, the mind goes like, oh, I get it. Because the mind likes metaphors, it likes stories, it likes symbols. So that's an incredible way to break through something like that. Yes. Thank you so much. Where can people find you and connect with you, get your courses, study with you?
Thank you so much for asking. They can visit my website, jlyall.com. From there, they can see about upcoming workshops as well as my one-to-one work. And there's a link to me on Instagram and on Facebook and I believe LinkedIn there too.
Thank you. And thank you, listeners. Remember to take pauses for play, check your inner battery, and pray every day and have a stellar life. This is Orion. Till next time.